Welcome to Sleep Deprivation and How It Affects Academic Performance. My name is Erin Ladwig. I'm a licensed mental health counselor and I'll be presenting this to you. I work for Henderson Student Counseling Services where I work with Broward College students. We will talk about the services provided to Broward College students later on in the presentation. Here are the objectives we're going to go over in this presentation: understanding why the brain needs sleep, hormone levels, sleep-awake cycles, the relationship between sleep and mental health, sleep effects on academics, coping, the amount of sleep needed, and sleep apps. Sleep is the mind's time to rest and recharge. When we get proper sleep, memories, emotions, and new information are processed and filed away for our minds to retrieve later on. This is useful so you can recall the material you just studied or the professor's lecture. If you fail to get adequate sleep, it could affect your grades. Because sleep is the time our minds block for mental processing, it makes sense why we would be forgetful when we miss out on a good night's sleep. That's not all. Sleep is also the time emotional processing takes place. This is why if you miss out on precious rest, we are far more likely to silently curse the car who cuts us off in traffic or worse. While these may seem like comical examples of sleep deprivation's effect on the brain, unfortunately, the consequences are much more severe than poor grades and road rage. What are the consequences of sleep deprivation on our psychological state? The mechanisms of sleep disruption and mental health are complicated to understand. But what scientists do know is that sleep and mental health are intimately related. After all, it's during sleep that we process our emotions and memories. Think about it like this. Sleep for the mind is like quiet hours in the library. When there is less to respond to, you get more work done. The same goes for the brain. When we're asleep, the brain can really get to work because it doesn't have to respond to all that external stimuli we encounter when we're awake. But if we rob the brain of this precious time, we may pay the price. Have you ever noticed that when you miss out on sleep, you tend to be more sensitive, easily irritated, or impulsive? There's a biological reason for that, and it has to do with two areas of the brain called the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex. The amygdala is in charge of our emotional responses. But to do its job correctly, it needs us to sleep because that's time it's allocated to process emotion. When we miss out on sleep, the amygdala goes into overdrive, causing us immediate emotional reactions to intensify. In fact, one study using an MRI scan showed that the amygdala was around 60% more emotionally reactive in the participants who were sleep deprived compared to those who are well rested. Hence, why you are more prone to road rage after a night of poor sleep, it's not only the negative emotions that intensify with a lack of sleep, it's positive ones too. That's not all. The amygdala isn't the only area of the brain that gets hit with this consequence of sleep deprivation. Another area involved in emotional regulation, the prefrontal cortex, does as well. The prefrontal cortex does a lot of impressive things, one of which is being the voice of reason to our emotions. Example, putting the brakes on our amygdala when it's overreacting. The prefrontal cortex helps control our impulses. In addition to emotional instability, scientists know that a lack of sleep causes a chemical imbalance in the brain. Some of the most valuable chemicals in the brain are our hormones. Our body produces and regulates roughly 50 different hormones which act as chemical messengers for the brain, traveling through our blood and delivering messages from the brain to different areas of the body. Hormones influence appetite, weight, mood, immunity, growth, healing, and much more. In a word, hormones, among other things, allow us to function properly. However, lack of sleep messes with the communication between the brain and its messengers, causing our hormones to act incorrectly or deliver misinformation to the body. This is why sleep deprivation poses such a dangerous threat to mental health. There's a lot at risk if our hormones don't deliver the correct information across the body. Hormone disruption caused by lack of sleep is mainly due to how sleep affects the endocrine system, particularly the hypothalamus, which is attached to the pituitary gland. The endocrine system consists of several glands that secrete hormones. The mastermind behind the endocrine system is the hypothalamus. Cortisol is a steroid hormone produced by the adrenal gland and plays a big role in our fight or flight response. It helps keep us alert. The production of cortisol is regulated by the pituitary gland. Remember, the one the hypothalamus is connected to. It's very important for cortisol levels to be just right. If too much or too little cortisol is produced, there are consequences. Unfortunately, when we don't get enough sleep or too much cortisol is produced, it puts our body into a constant state of stress, unable to relax. This is the reason individuals under a lot of stress struggle with insomnia. An increased amount of cortisol keeps them awake. We know that stress has a number of detrimental effects on the body, including impaired thinking, weight gain, the inability to control emotions. The worst part is, sleep deprivation and stress contribute to a negative feedback loop that can be difficult to break and often result in a mood disorder, anxiety disorder, and depressive disorders. With heightened stress comes heightened anxiety, which can make you hypersensitive to all sorts of physical, mental, and emotional stimuli. For anyone diagnosed with mental health disorders or sleep disorder, additional stress can increase in severity. Our mind is pretty complex. Amazingly, this is only scratching the surface in terms of how sleep impacts mental health. But what about how our mental state impacts sleep? That's a whole nother fish to fry. I told you sleep and the mind have an intimate relationship. Research suggests that the relationship between sleep and mental health is complex. Sleep problems can lead to changes in mental health, but mental health conditions can also worsen problems with sleep. Lack of sleep may trigger the onset of certain psychological conditions, although researchers are not completely certain the underlying reason for this. Because of this circular relationship between your sleep patterns and your mental state, it's important to talk to your doctor if you're having problems falling or staying asleep. How exactly do poor sleep habits and sleep deprivation affect a student's academic performance? Well, it's not just about waking up late and missing a class, nor that they are just too tired to pay attention in a lecture. Many studies have shown that sleep is imperative to memory consolidation and cognition. During slow wave sleep, which is one of the cycles the brain goes through during sleep, the brain replays information learnt while awake. This leads to memory consolidation, in which information is stored in a long-term memory. This means that if you don't get enough sleep, your brain doesn't have enough time to properly run through this cycle, leaving you unable to retain the information you picked up the day before. So if you're busy cramming and not sleeping, the important information you learned and thought you had memorized basically slips out of your brain, and you'll have trouble recalling them the next day. The reality is that many students are overworked. Many take a packed course load, work a part-time job, and still try to find time to be social. However, a lack of sleep can certainly hurt grades, among other things. Many college students cram before a test and pull all-nighters, staying awake until early hours in the morning. This ends up hurting them in the long run, as being sleep deprived impacts the skills needed to do well on tests, like memory recall and concentration. In fact, many students who pull an all-nighter often end up having lower GPAs. A lack of sleep can be caused by and contribute to mental health problems, according to the National Alliance on Mental Health. 44% of students experience symptoms of depression. Also, 80% feel overwhelmed by academic responsibilities, and 50% have struggled with anxiety. These mental health issues can hurt your ability to sleep well. Poor sleep can also increase your risk of mood problems. This can lead to consequences with grades and work. Another problem of sleep deprivation is drowsy driving. In this case, it is prevalent mainly among students who commute to school. The AAA found that traffic safety states that 16 to 24-year-olds are 80% more likely to be in a drowsy driving accident. Drowsy driving is like driving drunk. Reaction times, attentiveness, alertness, and decision-making skills are all impaired. When students don't get enough sleep and then drive to class early in the morning, they not only put themselves at risk, but also everybody else around them. The only way to truly combat drowsy driving is to get a good 7 or more hours of sleep nightly. The recommendations for treating poor sleep or sleep disturbances are generally the same whether or not you have a psychiatric condition. Preliminary approaches often focus on lifestyle changes that you can make that can help you get a better night's sleep. Avoiding sleep interruptions, such as caffeine, nicotine, and alcohol, and practicing good sleep habits are examples of lifestyle changes that can help. In addition to seeking help from a medical professional, there's also steps that you can take on your own to improve your sleep and well-being. Having good sleep hygiene or practices that support sleep are critical to staying rested and avoid daytime sleepiness. Some things you can do for yourself. Exercising to promote good quality sleep. As little as 10 minutes of aerobic exercise, such as walking, cycling, can all drastically improve nighttime sleep quality. For the best night's sleep, most people should avoid strenuous workouts close to bedtime. However, the effects of intense nighttime exercise on sleepers differs from person to person, so find out what works best for you. Avoid stimulants such as caffeine or nicotine close to bedtime. And when it comes to alcohol, moderation is key. While alcohol is well known to help you fall asleep faster, too much close to bedtime can disrupt sleep in the second half of the night as the body begins to process the alcohol. Steer clear of food that can be disruptive right before sleep. Heavy or rich foods, fatty and fried meals, spicy dishes, citrus fruits, and carbonated drinks can trigger indigestion for some people. When this occurs close to bedtime, it can lead to painful heartburn and disrupt sleep. Light exercise before bed. Yoga is a great relaxing and calming exercise to do before bed. Vigorous exercising such as running and weightlifting should be done in the morning or late afternoon. Establish a regular, relaxing bedtime routine. A regular nightly routine helps the body recognize that it's bedtime. This could include taking a warm shower or bath, reading a book, or light stretches. When possible, try to avoid emotionally upsetting conversations and activities before attempting to sleep. Ensure adequate exposure to natural light. This is particularly important for individuals who may not venture outside frequently. Exposure to sunlight during the day, as well as darkness at night, helps to maintain a healthy sleep-wake cycle. Limiting daytime naps to 30 minutes. Napping does not make for an inadequate nighttime sleep. However, a short nap of 20 to 30 minutes can help improve mood, alertness, and performance. Turn off your devices, especially devices using blue light. Make your bed a domain of sleep. Avoid watching TV or other activities in your bed. The bed is made for you to lay in and to sleep, or sexual activity. Make sure that sleep environment is pleasant. Mattress and pillows should be comfortable. The room should be cool, between 60 and 67 degrees for optimal sleep. Bright lights from lamps, cell phones, and TV screens can make it difficult to fall asleep, so turn those lights off or adjust them when possible. Consider using blackout curtains, eye shades, earplugs, white noise machines, humidifiers, fans, and other devices that can make the bedroom more relaxing. Here are some facts for college students. The average student goes to bed between midnight and 2 a.m. 20 to 30-minute naps are good for performance. Long naps may disrupt your sleep patterns, so nap early in the day. Use alcohol. Alcohol use is a risk factor as it slows down the body but can cause arousal in the second half. 18 to 24-year-old drivers have a higher risk of late-night crashes due to drowsiness or fatigue. There is such thing as too much sleep. 7 to 9 hours is the recommended amount of sleep per day. Anything less is not enough. Anything more is too much. A lack of sleep can lead to a decreased GPA and academic performance. A lack of proper rest may lead to obesity and weight gain. A lack of sleep can lower your immune system's ability to respond, which opens your body up to colds, flus, and sore throats more frequently. Most adults need 7 to 8 hours of good quality sleep on a regular schedule each night. Make changes to your routine if you can't find enough time to sleep. Getting enough sleep isn't only about total hours of sleep, it's also important to get good quality sleep on a regular schedule so you feel rested when you wake up. If you're researching for natural sleep aids, here's something to keep in mind. Some sleep aids and herbal remedies may help induce sleepiness. And even though the FDA does regulate dietary supplements, it treats them like foods rather than medications. Unlike drug manufacturers, the makers of supplements do not have to show products are safe or effective before selling them on the market. Here are some sleep apps that I found, which are available on iOS and on Android. This brings us to the end of the presentation on sleep deprivation and its effect on academic performance. If you feel that you're in need of additional services, please feel free to contact Henderson Student Counseling Services, where you get 6 free and confidential therapy sessions as a Broward College student each year that you're a student. Our hours of operation are Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. We also have a 24-hour crisis line. If you'd like to make an appointment, you can call our front office staff at 954-424-6916 or log into our portal to set up your first appointment. And here are our references for the presentation.